All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. It is a Friday night here on in my part of the world anyway. Might be a different part of the world you're at, and it might be a different part of the day or a different day or anything like that. Anyway, it's Friday Night Comics. You're at the Sequential Artists Workshop. This is the We Believe in Comics Friday Night Workshop series. SAW is a nonprofit. You can find courses that we run at learn.sawcomics.org. I'll tell you about a few of those coming up, like graphic medicine deep dive with Maureen Burdock is happening. Actually, that starts this Monday, I think. So this will be the last time we show that slide. And also next week in this slot, Lawrence Lindell will be here doing single page comics. So there's our last chance to see a slide of Maureen working. Additionally, starting in February, this is a ways away, but this is Beth Tremblay's deep dive into graphic memoir, and that's going to be really great too. If you'd rather do a 3-hour course, Miriam Lipicki is doing interview comics November 13th. That's going to be super cool. What else? Oh, well, SAW survives on tuitions and donations. Your donations help a lot. They help a lot. So if you donated tonight to the workshops or any other time, we really appreciate it. It helps keep these workshops free, which is really important to us. Helps us pay the teachers, which is really important to us. So thank you. You can support us a bunch of different ways, which I'll put in the chat, and they're on the screen, and there are ways on our website. You can become a sustaining member, which is groovy. What else can I tell you? Okay, we're ready. So please no trolling or hate speech. Please keep it PG-13 if you're sharing at the end. If you are sharing, please also go to social media, use that hashtag Friday Night Comics, and tag us at Comics Workshop, and I'll put Cathy's in the chat. You can come join us at members.sawcomics.org and join hundreds and hundreds of people doing stuff there too. And oh yeah, Seesaw Comics, you can see some of our comics and also the PDFs that we've been making from these Friday night workshops. So go look for Friday Night Comics and you'll see things like this one. We just throw these together really fast from all of our evening work. It's really fun. So enjoy. What do we got? Oh my God. Okay. Wormhole Comics with Cathy Mayer tonight, starting now. If I can figure out how to stop sharing, we're going to find out what Wormhole Comics means. I just want to say oh, you know what? I might have to take away my video for a moment because I just want to say I'm such a fan of Cathy's book, The Last Time I Saw Deborah, which is really marvelous. So I'm really happy that Cathy's here. I'm going to put my blur back on because it's better that way. And Cathy, thank you for being here. Welcome. And I'm going to spotlight you, so you're going to get big on your own screen. Voila.
Great.
And
Awesome.
as I said, I'm here to summarize in the chat and keep you on time or whatever. And just thanks for being here.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Thank you all for joining me on a Friday evening to do comics. That's very generous of you, and also I'm excited to do it. I love SAW. When Tom reached out about doing this, I was super excited and honored. And I just am grateful that you want to dive into Wormhole comics with me and learn about what they are. I'll sort of be figuring it out because I haven't run this one before, but I think it'll be fun. And thank you for being my testers. All right, so I'm going just to share. Let's get this working. Can everyone see the slideshow?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. All right, well, welcome to Wormhole Comics with me, Cathy Mayer. I'm Cathy. A little bit about me is that is me. I'm a cartoonist, an artist, and writer. I make comics. I like to share them with people. Sometimes I like to sell them at things like this convention, which is SPX, but usually I just like to attend them and see other people's work. And alongside making and sharing comics, I also teach. So I teach art, I've taught writing in the past, and now I'm getting into teaching comics, which has been a joy. And for a long time, I was working in education, and I always noticed that students were reading comics and graphic novels, and I also really resonated with comics, and I decided to sort of pivot a little bit and pursue making them myself, which is why I decided to attend CCS, the Center for Cartoon Studies. And there I met a lot of amazing people who I'll bring a few of them up in a moment, but that's my just so we have that clear. And she doesn't really care about any of this. So I have a couple of comics that are out, thanks to some awesome people that I know from CCS. This comic is the last time I saw Deborah that Tom mentioned, that was put out by Go Press Girl, which is a small press based out of Vermont. Definitely look them up. They're awesome. It's run by Rachel Bivens and Violet Kitchen. And they published a mini comic of mine that's a mystery, sort of inspired by my love for the song Goodbye Earl. And I also recently had sort of an experimental comic published by Parsifal Press, which is run by Dan Knott and Daryl Sidechick, and they make incredible, beautiful books. And I pitched to them the idea of making a story out of postcards, and they said, go for it. And that's how that came to be. And I like working on longer form print things, although it takes a long time. So I definitely try to make a bunch of smaller, shorter form things as well. And that's sort of more what I want to talk about today. What gets me going? What gets me inspired to want to make a small comic and share it with people in any capacity. And usually that thing is something that I recently learned about that I just can't wait to talk about with somebody. So this is an example of a small comic I made that I eventually that's eventually up on the rumpus if you want to read the rest of it. That was inspired by an article I had read about this monastery of nuns in Hollywood who were going bankrupt. And there was a lot of drama. And I just thought that was the most interesting story I had ever come across. So I was just talking about it to anyone that would bear to listen to me. And instead, I decided to channel that kind of obsession with the story into making a small comic about it. And I'm going to read a little bit of it just so that you get in my thinking process. But I can't stop thinking about the nuns in Hollywood, how they spend their days throwing prayers up in the air and baking pumpkin bread, because that's how they were making a living, was by making pumpkin bread. And in this economy, I mean, it's not going to keep a monastery open. So I usually start somewhere by not being able to stop thinking about something. Once I have thought about it too much, it feels like it has to go somewhere. And so that's usually when I try to sit down and make something with it. Otherwise, it's just going to get trapped in my brain and I'll explode. So I feel like part of this need to want to really focus on something tiny. I don't know. It's just sort of built in. I have done things like collected things I'm fascinated in, like these posts on Craigslist from the misconnection section. For those of you unfamiliar, Craigslist is a listserv, and you can anonymously post anything you want. And this section is just about meetups that people have had in which they haven't been able to get back in touch with somebody, and they're sort of throwing something out into the universe to try to get back in touch. This is one of my personal favorites. You almost hit me with your car. Very romantic. And for years, I was just collecting these in a file on my computer, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. And eventually, I did put them into comic form. So there was something there that was driving me to want to make something with them. And it was a fun process to sort of take this thing I had been obsessing over for a long time and just make it into something, I don't know, tangible. And the funny thing about it is once I made this mini comic, I stopped collecting them. I just stopped being interested. I had exercised that demon from me. I still will, I'll check Craigslist from time to time just to see, but um, yeah, I find that making comics can be a nice way to sort of quell an obsession with something. Um, which brings me to wormholes. So, what is a wormhole? This is going to be my definition of wormhole because I am not actually a scientist. But for me, a wormhole is sort of a combination of learning something new and becoming a little obsessed with it. A real wormhole is not that. A real wormhole is a thing in space, and it has something to do with time. I imagine it's sort of like a black hole, but maybe it's a tunnel that you could get lost in and time doesn't exist in. I'm not totally sure because I don't understand this Wikipedia article, but um, that I do like that it has to do with time, because I do think about the way that this takes up time, the thinking about something obsessively. Um, so Wikipedia actually calls this process a rabbit hole, not a wormhole. So I'm diverging from them a little bit. And on Wikipedia, a rabbit hole is the learning pathway a reader travels by navigating from topic to topic while browsing Wikipedia through hyperlinks in articles and other wikis. And they're getting it from Alice in Wonderland. So I sort of get that too. But I call this a wormhole. And I'm going to check the chat. Maybe I'm speaking too fast. Okay, great. Awesome.
No, good. We're good.
No, we're in full wormhole mode. Okay, great. Or a rat hole. Yeah. It can be whatever creature you would like to choose. But it is really about that process of jumping from topic to topic because you're learning sort of as you go about something you hadn't come across before. And that can take you into a new territory, whether it's outer space or Wonderland. So I'm going to take us through a wormhole I went through recently that then inspired me to make a comic, which is what I'm hoping we get up to today. I started my wormhole as I start many wormholes, which is by scrolling on my phone, just for no reason. And I was looking at a picture of somebody at a restaurant in New Orleans. That was it. And I thought, what an interesting place. I'm going to look up the menu at that restaurant. And what I learned from the website is that you can ship soup from the restaurant to anywhere in the country, which is amazing, including something called mock turtle soup, which I had personally not heard of. So I went further down the wormhole. And I learned that mock turtle soup is an imitation of turtle soup. But it didn't stop there. I needed to know what turtle soup was all about. And so I went to the Wikipedia page for turtle soup. And I learned a lot of facts. I learned that it was a very popular, or like a delicacy actually, in the 1800s. And it even almost drove certain turtles to extinction. And I learned that President Taft loved turtle soup so much that he hired a chef specifically for making him turtle soup.
Wow.
Learned a lot on that page. And I also saw my favorite part of the page, which told me to venture forward into the wormhole. See also turtle farming. And I said, yeah, let's see it. So what I learned about turtle farming is that it is the practice of raising turtles commercially. And there was a photograph with a caption that would stop me in my tracks. It was turtles coming out of a pool at a turtle farm in South China as the owner calls them by clapping her hands. And it was a picture of them emerging to the sound of her clap. which was amazing. So I was left thinking about it even as I was going to bed. I was going on with my night. I was still thinking, oh, violins, that would be beautiful to see
Yeah.
a violin concert that where turtles emerge. Um, I was thinking about them long after because I had really fallen down a wormhole, and suddenly something came to me, which was that I had a turtle. That when I was a kid, I had a turtle. I had totally forgotten, and it was probably originally from a turtle farm, which is not great. So I had an epiphany, and it made me make a comic about it. And believe it or not, this was not the comic. This is just me telling you a story. But this was the comic. And then I'll be done reading things off the screen. We can make some stuff. In 1987, it was revealed by the creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that the Ninja Turtles, oh, Jason already knows where I'm going, that the Ninja Turtles as a species were the red-eared slider variety. Keeping red-eared sliders as pets became a craze that wrought ecological havoc as turtles were accidentally or deliberately released into the wild. I have a fading memory of bringing one home from the mall. It's me and my mom. A red-eared slider, whom we might have called Mr. Turtle and eventually gave to my uncle, who released it in the sewer. Um, and it jogged up this memory and made me think about how I was tied to some of that ecological havoc that I've read about online. Um, so what I'm trying to say about wormholes is that yes, they are a time suck. They take up a lot of time that you could probably be doing something else, but I also think that they can be a space of inspiration because you're digging so much into yourself that you're inevitably going to jog up something. Maybe it's a memory you had, maybe it's just something you read about once, but it can sort of shake loose some things you might have had really lodged up there. Um, so I want to try to get into some wormholes today by making wormhole comics, if you'll go with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my idea is that we spend a little time doing uh, research. And by research, I mean just reading a little bit about something you've never read about before. And I will be providing a few different links for that. And if you're not really game to be having a lot of browsers up at once, we can
Huh.
do this with a book. If you have a book nearby, that might be a nonfiction book. That'll be, I think,
Hmm.
more similar. But we're gonna read an article, find your favorite facts, and think about why those jump out at you. See if you can connect any dots to something in your own experience or something that it reminds you of. Why do you like that particular piece of info? And then we're gonna draw. So I'm going to maybe stop sharing, or maybe I'll stop and then
I think I'd like to
um,
suggest that maybe people, if they have if they have a possible topic, because sometimes people are stuck. So if they have a possible topic, like turtles, like
yes.
throw it in the chat, and that way the chat will get a little bit busy and people will be like, oh, great, I'll start there or something like that.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to throw in some links of and I'm using Wikipedia just because I generally trust Wikipedia. If you have a favorite website that you like to look things up on, you feel free to use them. I'm going to drop in some pages that I've either seen before or have heard about in the chat. Feel free to choose any of them. I
Oh, look at that.
also have a link, I hope this works,
Okay.
that just it's a random age generator, and it should just take you to any
On
random article.
On Wikipedia?
on Wikipedia.
Oh, cool.
And I also, yeah, I would love if anyone has a suggestion for a topic, anything you can think of, drop it in the chat. The only thing I'm going to restrict is I don't want you to choose your own topic. So if you do choose the topic from the chat, choose someone else's topic.
Look at what you put in the chat is so great. Like the list of animals awarded human credentials. Like I don't even know what that means, but I'm definitely clicking on it. And
That
um,
one's great. There's La Tomatina, which is a tomato festival I just learned about.
Chicago.
Um,
I want to definitely click on a random feature. And Carol says this workshop is made for optomaths. I don't know what that means, but maybe that's part
that's
of what.
true. I might look that might be my topic.
So what's our timing on this? Should we like research for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or what do you think?
Um, yes, maybe we'll start with 5 minutes at least to solidify what your topic is, because you can jump around. I'm going to let you jump if the
Okay.
wormhole is calling you to do that.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll start picking out some of the stuff that we liked. And feel free if there's a fact that you read about that is you just want to blurt out and share, put it in the chat. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
definitely use the chat. All right, so we're going to go for 5 minutes. It's 22 after right now, so we'll go for until 27 after.
Great.
Um, and I'm excited to start. I don't know where I'm going to start. Susanna's asking if we put the source in our comic. I know you didn't put the source in your turtle comic. I think, is that what you're asking, Susanna? I think so,
Um,
right? Doesn't
right.
seem like it.
I didn't, well, I also didn't do anything with the comics. So, but I suppose I would have to cite where I learned
No,
that.
I don't think so.
But I mean, sometimes I think Wikipedia is the people's encyclopedia. I think we can use probably anything for making these comics.
Whoa. So
I
that
won't
link,
backtrack.
and there was a house cat who got an MBA. And it's true, there's so many, I'm sorry to just, hopefully I'm not talking while people are trying to concentrate, but um,
Oh no, I'll do, and I don't know if I could, maybe playing music is too complicated too, or
you
maybe
can do
people
that if
don't
you
want
like.
their own music.
We like that too.
Right. So I would suggest choosing somebody else's topic that they suggest, just so that it's really truly new to you.
Submerged village nearby in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Candy says. I found a submerged village in Italy. It was so beautiful. List of unusual deaths, list of common misconceptions. Okay, so Sarah is putting some good things in the chat. Yeah, these Shy is asking what's going on. I'll try and recap everything that you wrote because I did save some of it. Recap. I wrote workhole worm. Okay. Well, all right, I'm gonna do my reading. I'm getting distracted. Bizarre. Are you researching some too, Kathy?
I'm reading some of the suggestions, but I'm choosing uh I'm already forgetting the word. Opsimith.
Yeah.
Opsimithy? Let's see. And it does have a Wikipedia page.
Ooh. So actually, we've only got 1 minute from our, it's been 4 minutes since our that initial moment.
Right. And the 5 minutes is really to just solidify that that's the topic that you want to do. You'll have more time to read stuff and pick things out.
Whoa. So we should probably have our topic and now go a little deeper into that topic now, right? Now, like now would be a good time
Yeah,
to
now would be a good time
say,
to
yes, that's our topic.
yeah, you're like that's your topic. You can pick out whatever catches your eye. That could be a piece of trivia about it. That could be just a description of something or somebody in the article.
I'm doing hypnosis of chickens.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what, 5 more minutes to maybe go a little deeper and find facts and things like that?
Mhm. And
Okay.
if you want to, you can write down some of the facts or things that you liked. You can highlight them, copy and paste them into a, a note or something. But yeah, writing them down is probably the easiest.
Okay. Can't wait to make this call. Don't forget YouTube. Apparently we have one more minute. Somebody else ended up with hypnosis of chickens. Whoa. Uh,
Yeah, I'm learning just from the chat alone.
oh yeah, the golden record that's in outer space. Somebody says pigeons are easy to hypnotize. I've never heard such a thing. Okay. So we're hitting that 10-minute mark. Do you have advice on how we should um do our comic? Maybe 4 panels, maybe 6. Start with the fact. Or what would you suggest?
Yes, I would suggest starting with the fact. And um, if you haven't written them out yet, some by either typing or writing them out, I think that'll be a helpful visual to have. I would choose maybe one to start with for your first panel, and I would lead from there. And maybe again, try to connect it to why you were drawn to that particular fact from the page. Maybe it reminds you of something that you've seen before or something in your own experience. And by the end of the panel, or by the end of the fourth panel, I would love if we learn something new and if we also maybe learn something new about you.
Hmm.
So, right, if you're doing a 4 page, you can make a four square, or a sixer. My comic was 6 panels, because of the amount of text that I put in it, but sometimes less is more. You don't have to have it filled with facts. You can just pick one and then the rest could be without any text at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you not remember you had a pet turtle until after you had seen that? Did it suddenly come into your brain that
It suddenly came into my, I think because it was for such a short amount of time. Um, and but then seeing the pictures of the turtles really jogged it, and the little red spot that they have.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a particular breed. That's really funny.
I didn't know that either, and that was why they were suddenly so popular.
All right, I'm going to ask people what they're doing comics of.
I see, I'm reading about a wormhole jump that's happening. You just go deeper and deeper from submerged towns to types of rock
Yeah.
and become a geologist.
Kathy, are you doing one? I forgot.
No, I am. I haven't started, but
Oh,
I have the page pulled up on Obsimaths.
oh, right. Oh, funny.
And there's a list of a few Opsimaths, so that's where my wormhole was going.
Oh, Pam saw spite houses. Yeah, I saw that in your Wikipedia list too. I was really wanted to click it, so I'm eager to see what Pam does.
I I had never known the name for that. I'd seen them before, but I didn't know that they had a name.
What are we going for, do you think, for this comment? Should we do?
Was that how long are we going for?
Yeah, just
Um,
it's good. People will start asking, like I'm asking.
yeah, definitely. I would say, let's see, should we set a time for starting to share?
Yeah, I think so. Like maybe in even maybe as few as like 8 or 9 minutes or 10
Yeah,
minutes. Okay.
that's really,
So in
yeah.
about 8 or 9 minutes, we'll see if anyone's done and other people can finish up as they go.
Mhm.
And
Great.
are you
Perfect.
fast or are you slow? Are you going to be early in the queue or late in the queue?
Oh, I'm slow. Like much like the turtles I've been thinking about. But
All right, let's see. So Maria went into an architecture rabbit hole. Funerary memorials built in India of Indo-Islamic origin. Oh, that's going to be good. I hope we get to see some of these. I'm going to put a reminder to share in social media in the chat, and I'm going to put mine up there too.
Oh, and then I do have a slide about the gutter, but I can wait to share it at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, we'd love to see that. That'd be great. Um,
Because everything leads to the center of the earth.
yeah,
It all takes us back there.
I'm so bad at Instagram. I don't know if I need to. I have two pictures to share, but I don't know what order to do it in. Do I do first one first? This for second one first. Anyway, you don't have to answer.
Hmm.
We'll find out. Um, Actually, I don't know. So if I want to share, if I want if I want stories to be in order, the earliest one would be the farthest to the left in Instagram, right? If,
Yes, or
if
on a post or on a
on a
story.
story, I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
the first one would be the farthest to the left.
okay. Um,
Ooh, we have some really interesting topics. I'm gonna have to keep this chat so that I can look things up later. Also, some of these sentences out of context are amazing as well. Yes, the rat rock is a favorite of mine.
the rat rock.
Oh, I didn't. Was it maybe a squirrel? Maybe they misunderstood what shape it was.
Okay, I shared mine on Instagram. Maybe we can start to take a look. What do you think? And you can, I mean, people are welcome to keep drawing, I would think. I'll start if nobody raises their hand, I'll show mine. We'll see if people are ready to share. And Carol asks me to mention that Marine's class starts on November 4th. Mentioned. All right, Walter has something to share. Let's start with Walter, and then I'll, if I need to fill in the gap, I will. Um, Walter, hi. Let's get you to unmute. I'll spotlight you. What do you got, Walter? Hi.
So I went down the rabbit hole of cricket, and I was really inspired, Kathy, by your connection to your own memories. So the longest cricket match lasted 10 days and only ended because one team needed to sail home, and that was England from South Africa. And I can remember discussing cricket versus baseball with the Brit, who was really confused why we got the same points for going around bit by bit as going around all in one go. He couldn't understand that. I actually just like watching cricket for the batsman's gear because they have those big knee pads on. And in an episode of Farther Brown, Lady Felicia batted in a cricket game in her cocktail wear, which was pretty awesome. So that was my cricket wormhole.
Wow.
I love it. I can't find the applause react, but that's so, I mean, I love that it lasted so long. They had to get, they were like, we need to get on our boats, actually. Time to go.
Thanks, Walter. We'll go to Sarah next. Hey, Kathy, will you do me a favor and raise your Zoom hand? I'm going to raise mine. It's down below usually, and that'll kick you up to the left in the grid,
Oh, yeah.
and
Um,
then that'll be good. Did you find it? It might say reactions, but it might just say raise hand.
no, I used to, I guess it's been a second since I've raised a hand. I'll work on it.
Okay, we'll go to Sarah now. Oh wait, I have to ask her to ask them to unmute. Here we go.
Hello. I like on Wikipedia looking up like really mundane things and seeing what it has to say about the mundane things. So I was reading about stairs, and apparently stairs were only
Huh.
invented like 8,000 years ago. So this guy thought it easy to make it up on top of this block, but it's too high. And his partner's like, oh, it's like when a piece of meat is too big to fit in your mouth. How do you climb something in little bites? Wait, I got it. And they figured it out. Stairs.
6,000 BC. Whew.
I've never known when stairs were invented. I am learning so much.
Yeah, this is definitely going to make all of us autodidacts. We'll go to Paula next and then learn it after that. Paula, are you ready?
Hi. Bear with me. I'm the wrong way round. Oh, I don't know how to get rid of my background. Oh dear, this is not gonna work. Okay, bear with me, so I need to change my background.
You can do that while we go to learn it if you like.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and we'll come back to you. We'll take a look at learn.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened to my virtual hand. I couldn't, it's not down on the, down below. I don't know.
It's
Anyway,
right.
the subject I chose, I only did one panel, and I think you'll see why. There's not much else you can do with it. This is heavy metal knitting from Finland. Now, if you did 4 panels, they would probably look the same, but that's what I did. I thought that was rather unusual, heavy metal knitting. Haven't seen that before, unless you folks have. But there it is.
Is it on stage at the same time like you've drawn it? Does it?
Yes, exactly. There's a video. I was looking at a video of it. Of course, you know, it's a full band and one knitter.
That's awesome. I would get that as a shirt.
Thanks.
Awesome, Lauren. Thanks. We'll go to Paula now and then
Yeah. This is my one. I didn't quite understand what to do, but I think this is what I've done with the worms coming out and being sick, going into holes, and then what was the worm? The worms on food, the worm, somebody trying to get another worm, and a worm eating wood and stuff. Something a bit different.
I like those drawings.
Thank you.
Kathy, that's a legitimate wormhole comic.
That's a real wormhole. I love it.
Thanks, Paula. We'll go to Nicole next. Let's see when Nicole's ready. Oh, and then Eli after that. Hi, Nicole.
This was so great. Thank you so much. I did a little research. My 9-year-old said we know more about Mars's surface than the bottom of our ocean. So I started looking that up, and I guess that was a quote by this marine biologist named Sylvia Earle, who is 88 years old and is still like building submarines to like go take trips down to the bottom of the ocean. And she was the first person to go to the bottom, walk on the bottom of the ocean. So I started to do some stats. And so this one says 500 humans have traveled to space. And so I have a bunch of astronauts bumping into each other and like apologizing in different languages. And then I have, but only 13 have been to the bottom, have reached the bottom of Earth's ocean. And this is the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean, and it's 36,200 feet below sea level. And so I have a little person's word bubble being like, hello, anybody? And then this is marine biologist Sylvia Earle is trying to change that. And this is her real quote. And she said, you can't care about something you don't know. And then this probably should have been its own panel. And it's sort of a little bit of bio that she's 89. Now, when the article was written, she was 88. She's the first person to walk on the ocean floor. And she's currently building 2 submarines to help people watch jellyfish make a nightly commute 3,300 feet to the surface of the water. And then she thinks people are thinking about fish, marine life, all wrong. And then her quote is, we call them all fish, seafood. If we knew fish, we would think differently about them. They have faces and personalities. So I drew Fred, the fish. And then this last quote is, and I didn't get to illustrate it yet, it's her quote, we should care more about what we don't know. So thank you. This was great.
That was awesome. I'm also, there were so many facts that I need to look up later, but just, I love that you tied that together also with those great quotes by, what's her name again?
Oh, Nicole, let me see, Nicole. You can.
Oh, Sylvia Earle, I think I see in the chat. Yeah. Also, jellyfish are traveling 3,300 feet a night.
Yeah, now I don't feel so bad about not commuting anymore.
Thanks, Nicole. Nice to see you. Okay, we will go to Michael. Oh, wait, I got to go to Eli because Eli couldn't figure out the hand, even though Eli's done it. So there's something going on, something buggy today. And Eli, if you're ready, there we are.
Hi. Yeah, the hand raise option is just gone. And I can't find it in any of the nested things. I am a gardener for love and for money. And I love seed pods, and I have a really big collection of them over the years. So I keep them in what do they call it? Like a barrister's cabinet with the glass doors and the shelves, so I don't have to dust them. I also find things like shark eggs and other weird little things on the beach. So when I lived in that look like seed pods to me, and I guess are for mammals. And when I lived on the Gulf, I just ran downstairs actually to get something, so I'm out of breath. When I lived on the Gulf coast of Florida, I would find these weird little pods that look like beans, along with the shells and the sand dollars after a really good storm. They had I can't read that. Oh, they have the seam down the middle of them, and they're multicolored and they're really shiny and they look like wood. Well, they look like this, which is what I was running downstairs to get. Where is my hand? There it is.
Oh,
This. They're really cool. But I never knew what they were. They kind of look like a hamburger a little bit. No, this little line in them. And when I lived in Florida, there was no internet. So I would just carry them around in my pocket. And anytime I saw someone new, I would hold up my hand and be like, what is this thing? And finally, one day, this very knowledgeable and sour friend of mine crossed his arms and made this very unpleasant face. And he said, well, those are this magnificent seed dispersal system where all these tropical plants shoot their seeds out and they can float. And so they travel across the ocean from like everywhere, from Asia and South America and the Caribbean and all the Hawaii. And they float along until they land somewhere, and then in the hopes of germinating. But you collect them and put them on a shelf where they dry up and die. And then he sort of stomped off. But despite his sourpuss attitude, I now had a name for them. They're called sea beans. That's the common name for them. And so then I was able to figure out what they were. So I went to the library and looked them up. And if you go online right now, there's like a million websites that have photos of these things, and it'll tell you what plant it is. And so I was able just now to identify some of the ones that I have, which a couple came from the Caribbean, and one came from Hawaii, and one came from South America. So those are really cool little things that have life inside them. Also, I wanted to show you a shark. This is a shark egg casing. You can find those on the beach too. The end. Thank you. This is really fun.
That was so cool. And also the visual aids. I'm gonna look these up later.
They're very pleasing. They're like little marbles. They're lovely things.
Sea beans? You call them sea beans?
Sea beans.
Wow. And
Or sea purses, I guess they call them too. But I always thought that the shark things were called like mermaid purses.
those are, wow. All right. So anyway, these are these are available for replay, y'all, later if you want to go deep into Eli's cabinet. Anyway, thanks, Eli.
Yeah, that was fun.
Okay, we'll go to Michael next.
Okay. At first, I was going to draw something very serious about Alexei Navalny, but Cathy's link to La Tomatina distracted me. So I drew instead La Tomatina, which I didn't know anything about until about half an hour ago. This is referring to the largest food fight in the world. It started in 1940 as a food fight between friends in Buñol, Spain, which is a small town, population about 9,000. But it's turned into an annual festival. So I drew a tourist bus, as you can see there below, with a tomato smashed between. And now this festival attracts 20,000 people to this town of only 9,000. At the bottom, if I had more time, I'd fill the whole bottom of the picture with people throwing tomatoes at each other. But that's what it's about.
Wow, how many pounds of tomatoes do they go through a year?
That's a good question. I don't know. And I assume they can only use fresh tomatoes, not canned tomatoes.
Oh man. Just imagining.
There's
Yeah,
a secret there, I think.
It speaks to, I think we all what we really want is to have a food fight. I think that's why. Just once a year.
Right, right. But it's also for people who draw, it's fun to draw tomatoes.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
We have other people having problems with the raise hand feature, so I'll make sure to go to Doc Hoff in a minute. We'll go to Jason right now.
And something I also had trouble finding it. What might help is instead of hitting the arrow next to React, you just hit the actual React button with the heart on it. And then it should give you the options.
Oh my God.
So I also had Tomatina, but I was delving into the facts about it so much I didn't have time to draw. And I kind of got wormholed, I guess. So I'll later, I'll draw mine after the call and then I'll post it. But it's in this place in Spain that's right on near the coast.
Oh, you're blurry, Jason, I think.
I don't have a blurry. That's what happened here. See. So you can kind of see where the coast. That's the Mediterranean there. Somewhere in here is Bunal, right in there. That's that little red mark. And then right on the coast away from that is one of my favorite places in Spain called Alicante, which is like a epic resort town. It's beautiful. They've got like hotels with resorts with reflecting pools and all the way down to the swim up bars. But also, I sailed around the Mediterranean a bunch when I visited Spain, and I don't know how I missed this festival. This is crazy. You know what I mean? And also there was a fact that in 2009, Las Vegas took up the festival themselves. They do it every year too, but sponsored by the American Cancer Society, credited to Brunel's festival. And there's a bunch of other cities around the world. I've been to Vegas, I don't know how many times, too many times. I've never seen it there. And this thing is just like under our noses and happening. And people are having so much fun having these tomato fights that is, it's you should see some of the pictures that they are doing, because it's like this.
Whoa.
Those are people. It's too blurry. Too bad. If you look up La Tomatina, it's a crazy festival. They're all smiling. They're all covered in tomatoes. It only lasts 1 hour. They sell 20 maximum because they can't take more than that in the town. But as he just mentioned, 20,000 is the max, but it's populated to the max every year. It's like so much.
It's like burning tomatoes. Thanks, Jason.
I'll give you the amount of pounds. Let's see.
Sarah wrote 330,000 pounds in the chat.
Cool.
Thanks, Jason. Oh my God, this is crazy. We're gonna go to Doc Hoff and then we'll go to Christian after that.
Yeah, I just stumbled upon this article about boy, can we see it here? I don't know. About the Rainbow Valley of Mount Everest. And that seeing a picture of it, that it's named this not because of its natural beauty, but instead because of the 200 plus colorful down jackets still attached to this, some 200 plus individuals that have died while climbing Mount Everest. And it just struck me and I kept reading more. I was like, okay, why? And there was all these details about how far a helicopter could go and those sorts of things, and it couldn't safely reach that high. But it also reminded me of a colleague of mine who passed away while rock climbing, and just thinking about him and thinking, wow, if these 200 souls were like my friend, their lives were probably just as colorful as their final resting place. And yeah, it was just kind of a fascinating story of just kind of going through and kind of seeing that. At first I thought, oh, how pretty. No, okay, what is this? And so it was, yeah, I love this exercise, because it even just asking those questions of, okay, what drew you there, Matthew? And those kinds of things. So, but yeah, thank you so very much for the exercise this evening.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful.
Yeah. Whoa. And Eli's putting some things in the chat, so take a look at that too, Doc. All right, we'll go to Christian, see what Christian's up to. And then we'll go to Nazanin and then Chris.
Okay.
Is it a bug?
It's a fly.
Whoa.
So basically, I'm trying to make something good. Like, I'm trying to make sure like the fly is covered in the panels. Like I'm trying to make an effect. Like, do you ever feel like when something of being like affects the panels of the story?
Sure. Did you do some research on flies for that, Christian?
I actually watched the fly yesterday or the day before.
That'll do it. All right, cool.
The
Thanks.
Fly, David Cronenberg.
Oh, the movie. Sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Half man, half fly. All right, we're going to go to Nazanin next. Thanks, Christian. All right, let's see if Nazanin, and then Chris, and then
Hello.
Nazanin, are you ready?
Yes, I'm sorry I cannot open my camera. It's the middle of the night here, so you won't be able to see me. But I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I understood the assignment right, but I'm going to tell you something about my culture in Iran. So in Iran, we learn that the evil monsters, that we call them divs, are bad creatures, and we despise them. And the god that in ancient times we worship them, named Ahura Mazda, are a good god. But I recently learned that in India, it's the opposite way. And they worship thieves, the evil monsters that are actually called soldiers. And they despise the Ahura Mazda that we worship here. So now in university, whenever my teachers start talking about how bad thieves are in our culture, I came to think of that's how they just wanted to defend themselves from us attacking them, but they're not actually bad creatures. It's just they are just different in different cultures. This is it.
I think that's awesome. I like how you softened up the character in that last one. They look all friendly and
Yes.
in need of love and kind of vulnerable, right, Cathy?
Yeah, and I love just the moment of like totally unlearning something that you thought was the way it was your whole life. And yeah, I think that's amazing.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, Nazanin. We'll go to Chris next and then Catherine. Here we go. Oops.
Wait.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there. Thanks.
Hello, can you hear me? Thanks very much. I chose the bicycle. So the bicycle was invented in 1817 by this guy named Carl von Drais, and it was just a piece of wood with two wheels on it that he could, move his legs back and forth. And then once the bicycle became popular, women had a hard time, riding it because their clothes were so oppressively awful. And so the Rational Dress Society was formed to help allow women to wear better clothes. And one of the rules of the Rational Dress Society was you can't create fashion which restricts movement. So don't make something like that. And Oscar Wilde wrote an essay on the philosophy of dress, which helped popularize all this stuff. And he had this thing about the relationship between clothes and your soul. And now in these days, that same bicycle, just two wheels with a board or something connecting them, is really popular among kids. So 200 years of bicycling, and the only thing that's changed is we can wear what we want now. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris. Did you learn all that come just now?
Yeah, just now. But because parties thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. Thank you. We'll go to Catherine next. I can't tell. Here we go, Catherine.
Okay. So I had already opened a wormhole. So I continued down that wormhole. So I went backpacking recently with my wife in southern Utah, and we had to kind of wait out this storm. And I found this book on lizards, and there were these pictures of this desert horned lizard, and I kind of became really obsessed with it. So I took all these pictures of this desert horned lizard. And so that's what I researched. So this says we had a comic assignment and going down the wormhole. And so it's desert lizards. I'm being drawn in. And so then I found the skull of these lizards, and it totally looked like a dinosaur. And so I was pretty excited about that. And then the next photo I found was this hand, this is a hand with a ton of these tiny dinosaur skulls in it, which is this lizard. And he had found them in this kestrel box. And so this kestrel was eating the lizards, and then all these skulls were left. But what was really interesting about it was all the comments. So one person was like, "Homie, you should make a crown or a necklace out of those." And so I was imagining this guy making crowns out of that. And then another person was like, "No cost is too great. I would buy one of these if you're selling them." And so there were people really coveting these in the comments. So that was just kind of kept me going down the wormhole. So then I kept looking up other lizards. And I just feel lizards are just kind of really good at giving side eye. But this, so that I was like looking at chameleons, and then I found this other chameleon skull, which is like native to like East Africa, but it totally looks like a triceratops skull. So I don't know, I just kind of went down the wormhole, like sort of looking at their skulls, and so yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Boy.
I totally went through that wormhole with you, just going.
Yeah.
I love getting to a place where there are commenters. That's like another
Yeah,
branch
I definitely
of-
took a clue from your examples of like, I was like looking at that picture and I like started scrolling down and was like, oh my God, these comments are like, you know, like this person's just like, cool, look at this thing. And they're like, I want to buy these. Like, how can I buy these? Make a crown. And then somebody else was like, you need 33 to make a spell. So it got weird real fast.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Catherine. So we've got 4 or 5 more. Tony's looking for the hand. We'll try and help Tony. We'll go to Hi, who's Hi, and then we'll go to Edgar, then Parmita, then Emma. I'm not sure who Hi is.
Oh, sorry. Hi was me, I guess.
Ah.
Yeah, and I forgot to change my name. But yeah, I went down the rabbit hole of oh hey.
Hi.
Yeah, of the Spike House. And yeah, it's really fun. And I was just amazed by like how people are determined to stay on their place while there are like other constructions around them. So I made this. I don't know if you should see this. No. Yeah. So like it's basically just 3 panels of 3 different kinds of Spite House. One is like really small compared to the one next to it, and one is like totally different in the middle of a very gorgeous house, and that small house just being very unique on its own and refused to change. Yeah, and another one the same too. So yeah, that's really fun to get into something that I wasn't think about before at all. Yeah.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Hi. Yeah, I'd heard of that concept, Cathy, of spite houses, but I forgot that's what they're called, so I was glad to see that.
And I like the idea of sort of like designing your own. It would be fun to just make a collection of spite houses.
Yeah, could be a whole workshop. Okay, we'll go to Edgar next.
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you, Cathy, for the inspiration. Let me show you what I did. I actually did a wormhole of something that I know, but it shows the frustration of going from casting to casting of actors for a show. So I call this one How James Earl Jones Ended Up Not Starring in My Radio Play. In 2009, I wanted to direct my play Mr. Lincoln and the Young Ones to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's bicentennial. Another director grabbed that first, so I had to cross out Abe, and I selected the bicentennial of Edgar Allan Poe. I listened to a dozen existing classic golden age of radio plays about Poe, of his work, and selected the Escape radio adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher by Les Crutchfield in 1947. And it's a brilliant episode, and I have great admiration for Crutchfield. But who to cast in the 2 leads? Initially, I thought of John Aston of the TV Addams Family, who was also a Poe scholar for the part of the Visitor. And I thought of Kevin McCarthy for Roderick Usher. Initially interested, Aston did not return my subsequent calls as he was grading final examinations as being a department chairman at Johns Hopkins. Kevin McCarthy gruffly said he wasn't interested if it's not commercial. But then after 10 minutes, I sweet talked him and he said, send him the script. But his young female companion told me he was almost blind and could not perform. And I wouldn't tell you that, but he has passed. Actor Cliff Carpenter who had appeared in several of my plays, had befriended a young James Earl Jones in the original production, Broadway production, Sunrise at Campobello. When I thought about it, I realized Jones would be perfect for Roderick Usher. Cliff said he would ask Jones to participate if he was free. And there's James Earl Jones. But when I checked back in September, Cliff said he would not invite him. Why not? I asked. Because a legendary actor from Orson Welles' Mercury Theater, who was also in my cast, told him not to invite Jones. And I said, but he's not the director. I am. But Cliff said, I will not go against this actor who was also passed. But I love the actor. Anyway, so big X's for James Earl Jones. But not to worry, I stayed up late to watch a Twilight Zone marathon, Changing of the Guard, to audition, quote unquote, Russell Horton. My brother Fraser and I agreed that Russell Horton had the warmth and sensitivity to play the visitor. So there's a big check by Russell Horton, and Michael Gwynn played Roderick well, a triumphant production. So a happy ending.
Edgar's whole life is a series of wormholes. Really, really.
You can see how it was a wormhole going from one to another.
Wormhole soap opera almost.
It really was. And I didn't tell Russell Horton until many months later that, or after his performance, that I auditioned him at 1 a.m, and he was quite chuckled. He liked it.
Thanks, Edgar.
You bet. Thank you.
And as a reminder, I'll put in the chat one last time where to share these on social media, and in addition, where to put them on for our PDFs if you want to be part of that. Parmita is next. I'll remove the spotlight for Edgar. Parmita, are you able to come on? And then we have a couple more. Maybe we'll go to Emma while Parmita's figuring it out and then come back.
Hi. So I ended up going down a wormhole about Canada's arsenic rink, which is a giant mine in the Northwest Territories. Arsenopyrite was roasted to mine gold in the 40s and 50s, and arsenic dust was released into the air and water, killing and sickening local residents.
Wow.
Emissions led to dangerous levels of arsenic in the snowmelt and Yellowknives DNA used for drinking, which the Yellowknives DNA used for drinking water. The solution is that they're using ice rink technology. Using ice rink technology, 237 tons of deadly arsenic dust will be kept in frozen chambers on the site forever. Wow. That is my quick sketch, and I'm gonna do a larger version on here that I'm still working on. But thank you. This was very enlightening, and I love this. Yeah.
Cathy, have you ever heard of such a thing?
No, I mean, anytime what I've learned about a disaster that is permanent, has permanent effects, I feel like it gets lodged in there, but I'm definitely going to look that up later.
Thanks so much, Emma. Okay, Parmita is here.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
so much for letting me speak. I decided to pick the first thing that came up on my Instagram, and it was, I don't know if you can see or not, probably. Okay.
Uh-oh, did they freeze or did I freeze?
I think that they might be frozen.
Uh-oh, okay. We'll see if they come back. That's pretty frozen. We'll go to Laurent next.
And
wait. Oh, they're back. All right.
I think I should say it and then show it. The legend goes like this. Long ago on a summer evening, a concubine was on the way to see the emperor. It was dark and she couldn't see, so she bumps her head accidentally into a crescent glass crystal screen or something and cuts her temple like a moon shape. And she's really embarrassed about it. But when the emperor sees her, He's in trance and tells that her beauty looked like scattering dawn. And when the other concubines saw it, they immediately got jealous and started doing it on their own temple. So it's like two moon shapes on their temples, which I thought was really interesting. And I don't know how to show it because it's on my device. Just one moment. Okay. I didn't have time to add text, but this is what it looks like. And at the end is, I guess, the other court ladies being jealous and drawing it on their own faces. So yeah, that was mine, I guess.
Wow. Too many
That's
interesting.
cool. And it just came up on your Instagram, like a
It was the first thing that came up. Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Also a great source of inspo.
Yeah, thanks so much. Okay, we'll go to Laurent next. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my rabbit hole was the Chicago rat hole. That was one of the options. So let's see if it's not backwards and if it can focus. Let me try. Well, it's not very clear. Hold on.
A little bit.
All right. So this was about the rat-shaped hole in the sidewalk in Chicago, and so you have the guy Winslow. Hold on, let me. Winslow Dumas on January 6th. He tweeted this picture of the rat, and it went viral. And then so this brought a lot of people, and they started adding money and making a shrine out of it and putting pills and everything in it. So this upset the neighbors. So I have a neighbor looking down, and then a time later, the city of Chicago removed the slab. So I have the Bobcat, where the city of Chicago is removing it, and so it's just a rat hole. That's
getting
it.
Too many facts in my brain tonight. These are all so different. Like, thanks so much, Laura.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll go to Meklia next. Here we go. And then Sophia.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen.
Second to change that. There you go. You should be able to.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay, I don't have great gutters, but so I started with like sparkling water. So mineral water is water from a mineral spring that contains various minerals such as salts and sulfurs and compounds. It's usually still, but it may be dun 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 sparkling. And I love mineral water. And this is like a very rough and silly, cartoony. Mineral waters were traditionally used for medicinal purposes in the pre-scientific era. And the word spa actually comes from a Belgian hot spring town of that same name. And that got me thinking, like, where are the hot springs near me? I need some pre-scientific healing. And so the nearest one is Saratoga Springs. And so I was like, what's the deal with Saratoga Springs? Their town motto is health, history, and horses, you know? And that begs a lot of questions. And so I was like, what kind of town gets founded around these like actualizing truths. And so this dude named Gideon Putnam built the first like hot spring hotel in the neighborhood or in the town, and that hotel is still opened. It's his namesake. It's been open for like almost 100 years or over 100 years, except for a period of time in 2018 where it closed for 6 months due to like flooding, which is like funny because their business is water, and also a worker strike, which is less funny. And he built the town's first cemetery and was also the first person to be buried there because he fell through some scaffolding and punctured his lungs at the age of 49. And he is the cousin of Abby Putnam, famous tween from the Salem witch trials. He like wears a bonnet in historical documentation. I could not draw said bonnet, but there's a lot of frills. And I really enjoyed this exercise. Thank you.
Classic rabbit hole, Cathy.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was like that was PBS history hour. I was like following different characters. Sweet.
Awesome. This will be our last one. We'll go to Sophia. Thank you. If Sophia is ready.
Hey,
Yeah,
can you guys see me? Oh yeah, okay.
Yep.
Cool. Wow, that was so good. Coincidentally, my comic is also about a place near Saratoga Springs. So really interesting coincidence. But okay, so I was a couple weeks ago, I was riding my bike. My topic is okay. A couple weeks ago, I was riding my bike. I didn't have a chance to do the text, but I was like on a bike trip in upstate New York, like starting from Albany up to like Whitehall, Vermont, or sorry, Whitehall, New York, which is near there. And okay, so something I was just thinking about was that I had never really been in this area. I've spent some time in the capital district, but things like I hadn't really spent time in this area north of Albany too much. And so in some ways I hadn't really planned this trip. I just like I knew I had 2 weeks where I didn't have to like I knew I had 2 weeks and I was gonna ride my bike and I didn't totally know what I was doing. But I like whatever, I have some friends in certain places, like I'm gonna go ride my bike. And but so I was doing that, but I didn't really know that much about like kind of the places I was. And something I found interesting was that so things are really kind of unfamiliar. I'm riding. I don't totally know where I'm going. It's like a little bit of a crapshoot. And sometimes if I have all the things I need, like not everything's planned all that well. I am in this town called Mechanicville, which I guess is not really out. It's not really that far out of the capital district, but on a bike, everything feels a little bit further away than it does otherwise. And for some reason, I don't know why exactly, but I just thought found it like really interesting. I was really interested in, for some reason, like it seemed like there was like a really strong, like unifying signage in the town about the town's Italian heritage. And I don't know why, but I just thought that was interesting. I was like, I don't know, why is this town so like what is the thing that is like interesting about it, or like what is the thing that I guess familiar. I don't know, I grew up in a big city. There was like an Italian fraternal society. I was just interested in that for some reason. I found out that like this fraternal society, they like it almost gone broke, and then there was a poker tournament where it was winner takes all, and then I was just like curious about like what had caused Italian immigration to this area north of the capital district. Apparently like canal workers and he'd like come in the late 1880s and stayed there. Yeah. Or sorry, railroad.
Awesome, Sophia. Thanks. Cathy, that's like, I think if you did a history of places, you could go down wormholes just over and over and over again, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, different people and right, like societies that crop up. There's always something interesting for sure. I love those drawings also.
Yeah, me too. I really like those drawings of place. Wow, usually at the end of these I have some sort of like summarizing thought, but I have no summarizing thought because it was in so many directions.
Sorry, your brain is broken.
Yeah, my
No.
brain is totally like maxed out and fried in all these different directions, but this was so fun to get so many interesting new impressions, I suppose is the word. And like the rat hole over here and the moon-shaped temples over here. And anyway, so well, so thanks for doing this. You wanted to tell us about the gutter and some other things, right? You
I
want to give us
do, and I'm going to drop a link to it in the chat. The gutter is it's a few different things, but it's a Substack that I run with a fellow cartoonist named King Ray, and we accept comic submissions every month. We put out a newsletter of comics. We also we just put out our first print anthology. I wish I had one near me to show you, but there were a few style cartoonists featured, I think both in the print and the digital anthology. So we'll probably have a call for comics coming up for our next one. And if you subscribe to the Substack, you'll get that information. Or if you follow me on Instagram, we don't have an Instagram for it because we're trying to be off of Instagram because I don't know, for our own just because. But let me just pull up the slide I have for that. I put the link in the chat. That the second link is to submit. So it's a Google form that you can upload images to. And we're always taking submissions, just all the time. If you want to put out a comic somewhere, we're here. But thank you all so much. I don't want to go over too much time, but this was so fun. And I, again, had never run this specific workshop before. And this was an amazing group to test it out with, because I feel like the wormholes were deep and they were going a lot of places. But
awesome.
thank you for sharing.
Yes, sure. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute and then just give our host a round of applause and say thank you. Yay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Just remember, thank you.
Thank you.
Share this
Good
stuff on
night.
social media. We'll see you
Thank
next
you. Good night.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend, everyone.
Bye.
With science.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Cathy. Good
night.
It proved a wormhole exists on Earth with science. 7 kinds of science.
All right, we'll have
On
to
video.